Hey there, folks. My name is Dan the Kid Barrett. I'm joined here by, well, as always, really by Simon Foster. Simon Foster, I hope you got your receipts taken care of. I hope that you've ticked all your boxes. I hope you know where your various PAYG statements are because it's tax time.
Yeah, I am. Hello, Dan. Hello, everyone. I do know where they all are. I'm an avid fan of paperwork, and I've got to sort of keep track of what I pay myself for this podcast. So yes, I'm ready. Bring it on, tax man, because I'm all cashed up. Yeah.
Wow, this podcast really became a accountancy deep dive much quicker than anyone really expected.
It's not like TV, only better.
Television, teacher, mother.
Secret lover. What, that's it? That's your movie?
Well, I said that I had an idea for it.
Folks, this is Screen Watching. We're not going to talk accountancy. We're not talking tax time because, you know, it's a new financial year. We're going to be talking about movies and TV shows, but we're going to do it in a fairly brisk manner because I've got some Stranger Things episodes to watch, Simon. And this episode of the podcast, this is really just, it's killing my buzz, man.
Yeah, it's sucking into your TV watching time, and we hate to do that for any of our screen watchers because that's what we're all about. But yes, I'm very excited about the final episodes of Stranger Things, which are coming our way as we speak, as we record this on July 1. They've just dropped on Netflix around the world. So that's very exciting. A big week for returning television, but not a very big week for new television, and certainly not a big week for movies. But we're going to do our best bringing the light and fluffy entertainment chatter for our review segment.
Yeah, that's it. Because we've got a season finale of Stranger Things, which I think many would argue is maybe the biggest TV show in the world. Because that's on. Basically, no one's really put new shows up against it. There's a smattering of things. There's a few returning shows from earlier in the week. But look, we're going to talk about those and more as we dive into, look, we've got some reviews. There's some, I wouldn't say big titles.
No.
There's certainly titles.
Yes.
Simon, we have definitely seen things.
Yeah, let's just jump straight into the reviews.
It stinks.
Simon, can you tell me about the brand new motion picture playing in the cinemas? It's called Dashcam. Should there be a clip played now? And then you come back and tell me all about this Fancy Pants movie.
Okay, let's do that. In this found footage, handheld, shaky cam epic, a woman named Annie Hardy, played by Annie Hardy, goes on a trip to London. She's a right-wing internet personality who live streams out of her car. She does rap music. She uses her viewers' comments as lyrics. Now, the whole time you're watching this film, you're seeing all these comments appear on screen. It's like it's exactly like a live stream. I know. Look, this is not going to win over any fans, any new fans of the found footage genre. She finds herself going deep into the British countryside with her friend Stretch, played by Amir Shada Patel, an old friend from way back who kind of tolerates it but doesn't really like her. But along for the ride is Angela Enahoro, who plays a woman called Angela, who has some horrible thing wrong with her. Now, as the film progresses, you learn she may be some kind of vampire, she may become some kind of evil spirit, she may be a werewolf, she may be a demon. But what unfolds is one of the wildest, craziest horror films I've seen in a long time, not least because of this extraordinary woman in the lead role, Annie Hardy. In real life, she's the lead vocalist, guitarist, and songwriter for the rock band Giant Drag, and she is the single most objectionable screen presence I've seen in a long time, and you just cannot wait for this horror movie to envelop her. I'm not going to give away the ending, but along the way, she has to fight off what turns out to be, spoiler alerts, turn down your volume if you don't want to hear this, but a giant alien slug that comes out of inside Angela, and what you have is this screeching, whirling camera horror film that I was fortunate enough to watch it on the TV at home. If I was to have seen this on the big screen, this would have been vomit inducing, not just because of the blood and guts, but certainly for the wild and crazy camera movements that director Rob Savage brings to it. He is a bit of a master of this, not so much found footage, but sort of this modern styling of filmmaking. He did the Netflix hit, or was it Netflix? Might have been Shudder, Host, about 18 months ago, which was a very clever, very tense sort of babysitter thriller where the girls were, their screens were flicking between one another. He throws all that structure out the window and just goes batshit crazy with Dashcam. Got to say, I loved it, but I'm a fan of the found footage genre. Those that don't are going to hate this movie, but those that do, get on board.
So we have an objectionable star, but it's an amazing film we should all get along to see.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's what we're there for. She's amazing. And do hang around for the end credits where she raps and insults pretty much everyone. And she breaks down the fourth wall and she raps and insults all the cast and crew members as they go by on the screen. And it is very, very funny. It's a wild ride, this film. I got to tell you, I haven't seen anything like it.
Now, sorry, this is me just being very distracted. Just from what I understood about the premise of that then, it reminded me of that Scarlett Johansson film Under the Skin. I'm sure the film's nothing like that, but just the alien sort of thing going on. And then I remember there was supposed to be an Under the Skin TV series.
Not with ScarJo.
Not with ScarJo. I believe that nobody are involved in the original film, including the writer-director whose name I fail to recall right now. I don't believe he was involved or really consulted in anything. I think it's one of the things where the producers of the film have the rights, and so on they went. But I've not heard anything about this for about 2 years, and I'm wondering if this is because COVID came along and they just quietly decided to just put the movie aside, the TV series aside, or what's going on? I'm doing a bit of a Google around. I'm not seeing anything.
That would be tough to pull off because that was such an individualistic, idiosyncratic sort of film, so reliant on ScarJo's performance. It's still my Scarlett Johansson's favorite film, and totally reliant upon some very sort of cinematic shocks that absolutely rock your world. Boy, some of those visuals in what's it called? Under Her Skin is I still just sort of burnt into my memory. Dashcam isn't really like that, mainly because it's the villain. It's one of the supporting characters who is the baddie. Poor Annie Hardy up front there has to do all the suffering herself, as do we, having to listen to her voice and watch her go through this film. But yeah, it's a good comparison, actually. It's and I would love to know what they're doing with a TV series with that. I imagine they'd turn it into something like a Species, where it's just, the aliens are amongst us and they're picking us off one by one. And did they? No, they didn't make a Species TV series, did they? That just became like a whole bunch of cheap straight-to-video sequels.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So basically, I can't find anything about the existence of this TV show post about June 2020. Okay. I suspect it's probably dead in the water. You see the pun there?
Yeah.
Dead in the water with Under the Skin? Yeah. Because of the...
I got it.
That's all the movie. Fine. Well, then I guess if you got it, then you've earned the opportunity to listen to the next review, which is for a film. It stars Chris Pratt. It's called The Terminal List. Yeah. See, I was stretching then because I can never remember Chris Pratt's name.
Oh, well, I was not to know that, but I can't remember his face half the time. Anyway, this is where we'll drop the clip in. YouTube listeners will hear this banter, whereas regular podcast listeners will not. You lucky YouTube people, you.
That's it. This is the superiority of the podcast experience. Now onto The Terminal List. One of the true pleasures at the cinema was seeing Chris Pratt and his SEAL team sneak into Osama bin Laden's compound and take him out in the movie Zero Dark 30. It was a tense and thrilling experience. Burt Macklin, FBI! I would scream from my chair the 4 to 5 times that I saw the film at the cinema. I really liked it, and I had a lot of free time. Here, in the new Amazon Prime Video series, The Terminal List, Pratt is back with the SEALs. This time, it's his team that gets entirely murdered. They get brutally murdered in the very first episode. So now Reese is out for revenge. He's getting all Arya Stark on everyone with his list, and he's out to let his concerns be known. But unlike Zero Dark 30, the absence of character role played by Chris isn't gussied up with great action, tense sequences, and great cinematography. It's just fine. He's fine. It's just a bit boring and not really especially engaging. It is worth noting that the first episode of the series is directed by Antoine Fuqua, a director who's 21 years beyond the last film of his that I actually liked, and just noting he has 24 credits since Training Day. Look, I'll also concede that the Magnificent Seven remake had some all right moments, but come on, let's maybe quit with the Fuqua, shall we?
Yeah, I think
look, this isn't much a review, but then it also wasn't much of a show. Simon.
Well, that is one of the singularly most dismissive reviews ever. I don't think you and I have ever flown the Chris Pratt flag to any great extent. We had a couple of chuckles with him in Parks and Rec, and I actually totally forgot he was in Zero Dark 30. So thanks for bringing that fine memory back. Yeah, the reviews on Terminal List have been very scathing, to the point that I'd switched off and actually thought it was a film, but it's not. It's a series, is it? It's a multi-episode arc, as they say in the biz.
Look, I believe it's 8 episodes in length. The thing that I keep really having issues with is, I think it was early this year, if not late last year, he started a movie that got purchased by Amazon and so became an Amazon original called The Tomorrow War.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I've gone to write the Terminal List, I keep writing The Tomorrow War.
Because they're entirely interchangeable and fairly sort of generic in the way they come together.
Oh, look, I wouldn't use language like that. I'd probably use phrases like humdrum and bore and sleep-inducing.
Okay. So the Terminal List, for those who still have any interest in seeing it whatsoever, has begun on the Amazon Prime video streaming channel. Any one of note alongside Chris Pratt, or is this totally just a paycheck piece for him?
Taylor Kitsch is in it.
Oh,
who else did I see? Constance Wu. Look, I like Taylor Kitsch. He's all right.
Yeah, he's fine.
Fine. I don't think he's been used as effectively as he could be, but you know.
Well, he was sort of tagged for big things, but then this 1-2 punch of John Carter, Mars, and Battleship came along and just ruined his career. You know, that sort of pushed him into the background a bit.
Pretty much, and it's a shame because I think he's got a decent enough screen presence.
Yeah. There's a lot ways he's more engaging than Chris Pratt, quite frankly.
Mm.
Okay, so that's the Terminal List. Well, let's get on to something quite nice and lovely. It's called Ali and Ava in limited release.
Oh, we should probably play a clip if it's lovely.
Play some kind of clip in here.
Hmm.
Okay. Ali and Ava is a very sweet working class romantic drama. Claire Rushbrook stars as Ava. She's a single grandmother, very young grandmother, although she's got 5 grandkids, who has a seemingly endless supply of tenderness and patience. She's a classroom assistant, and she looks after a young Muslim girl with special needs, despite having a family that's been torn apart by a wretched alcoholic ex-husband who has passed away only a year ago. Everything about her life is her family. And then along the way, she meets a landlord played by Adil Akhtar. His name is Ali. And they find a common bond, first through music. And I've got to say, some of the music used in this very sweet, lovely film has just a great feel and vibe to it. He is a fan of sort of techno, is an ex-DJ in his younger days. He's going through his own problems with his wife, Runa, played by Alora Torchia, and they're going through a breakup. Ava is a mad keen on folk and country music, and they have a laugh at each other's expense, but they play some great music throughout all of this and bond over that. Finally, they sort of get together, and their relationship is a mature one, a very sweet one. The sort of more challenging aspects of a romance like this, whether it is the racial aspect, the sort of the combining of the British or the white British and the Pakistani families, and how the different members of the families react with each other. And also how the family members, especially the young son Callum, played by Sean Thomas, sort of deal with a new man in their mum's life, are handled with a really deft, very sweet touch. This could have very easily sort of, not degenerated because he makes fine films, but it could have been a very bleak Ken Loach style working class kitchen sink British drama, but it's got a beautiful look to it. It makes some of the sort of the stonier, grayer areas of places like Bradford and in the north of England. It makes them look beautiful on screen, and the way that music plays such an important role in these guys' lives is just makes for a very engaging and sweet film. Very small scale, but beautifully acted, especially by Adil Akhtar as Ali. He's wonderful in this. It's in limited release through Transmission Film, and definitely worth seeking out. While there's a lot of very big movies in the cinemas at the moment, sometimes the smaller stuff is just as rewarding. It's called Ali and Ava, and is in limited release around Australia.
I didn't realize we were doing positive reviews on the show this week.
Yes, I know. It caught me a bit by surprise as well. I don't know whether it's just because I'm reaching a certain maturity in my life, but I'm really becoming quite taken by some of these smaller scale British films. I've watched a few. You put me onto a few through the show, just stuff we've had to review. And I've watched a couple of movies lately that have been these sort of smaller working class British films, and I'm finding myself quite tolerant for them. I'm becoming tolerant, Dan.
Oh, God.
I've never been tolerant before.
Okay, thus ends the review portion of the show, and thus begins the middle bit portion of the show.
No. We've skimmed. Wait a minute. We've skimmed over a whole lot of. What else have you been watching? There's a whole lot of things here we should at least mention, and because they are second and third and fourth seasons of some really big shows. And I watched a couple of ones this week.
Okay, well, can I backtrack then? We have thus concluded the reviews portion of the show, and now we thus enter the what else have you been watching portion.
Beautifully done. That's a smooth segue. You want me to head this off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I finally got through all of the Andrew Garfield series Under the Banner of Heaven, and I am stunned that the Latter-day Saints community hasn't kicked up a much bigger fuss about this, because it paints them in a terrible light. It is a look at a shocking true-life murder. Andrew Garfield plays the investigating detective who is also a member of the LDS community. His offsider is a member of the Native American, Indigenous American community. That creates its own series of tensions. And then his police work in investigating the murder and how he deals with his faith also makes for some terrific drama. Stars Daisy Edgar Evans? Jones, that's right. Jones. Who's fantastic in this film. She's really the next big thing, I reckon. And a lot of very scary people playing LDS community members who may or may not have committed an awful crime. Quality bit of television.
Do you know what puts the Church of LDS members in a bad light?
What's that? Being
members of the Church of LDS.
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to let you say it. This series sort of looks at their church and the basis of their religion from a very historical aspect, and does recreations of the birth of the religion in America and how that impacts the motivation of the killers, and nothing about their life or their faith or how they treat their women or how they treat modern society comes out looking in any way good. What does come out looking good is Dakota Johnson and Cooper Raiff in the Apple TV film Cha Cha Real Smooth, which is a terrific romantic comedy. Cooper Raiff wrote and directed this, and he is a real talent to watch. It is a very charming, very sweet film with some crackling dialogue throughout, a bit of an old school romantic comedy, the kind of smart indie sort of romantic comedy that was at a peak in sort of the mid to late 90s. So both mine this week are worth having a look at: Under the Banner of Heaven on the Disney Plus channel and Cha Cha Real Smooth on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, look, so Cha Cha Real Smooth, I was pretty keen to check out. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And Under the Banner of Heaven, I've seen the first episode and we'll agree it's pretty, it's really strong TV. Yep. I just haven't had time to actually go and review more of it yet, which is a bit disappointing. I'm going to get there, I promise. All
right. Well, you've got a lot to watch. Like you say, we're into second seasons of Only Murders in the Building, which you've had a look at episode 1. Are we back on board?
Yep. It's the same show that it was previously. Okay. Mileage will vary. Either you'll be really, really gaga for it like Simon, or you might have some more critical faculties about you like me and think it's fine.
Okay. I did absolutely love the first season. As you know, it was in my top 5 of the year. Their chemistry on screen is wonderful. So yeah, I'm very keen to delve back into this. I see you've got on the running sheet Love, Death and Robots. I didn't think that was your bag, baby.
Look, so I really liked the first season of that back, was it like 4 years ago, 3 years? Yeah, I don't know, it's pre-COVID. Let's say 3 years ago.
Okay.
I really liked that. But despite the fact that I was really quite taken by it, I just wasn't really feeling the mood for it the second season when that came out. So I never really saw much of it. Like I saw one or two and I just wasn't really, wasn't in the right frame for it. And then it just got past me. And then the third season came along and it just kind of got past me. But I was feeling sick the other day and thought, you know what? I've got some spare hours in my day. I'm going to watch one or two of these instead with the other TV shows I was watching. And before I knew, I'd blitzed through almost 2 seasons worth and had a grand time. So
wow, that is a big wrap.
they're all pretty short. So it's not like it's a huge thing.
Short. I have, as a film festival director, I have to watch a lot of short films, and it can become tiring to get started and get engaged with the story, and then it finishes or it pans out or it goes too long without. I find short films a real challenge to watch. A woman director that I know called Emily Dean. She was in a film I programmed a couple of years back. She directed a film I programmed a couple of years back. She directed one called The Very Pulse of the Machine, which I think is maybe the 3rd episode of the new series of Seasoned Robots. An exploratory mission to a moon ends in disaster, and the lone survivor must begin a perilous and mind-expanding journey, says IMDb. They've got a lot of great talent on board this series. So I've seen her episode, but I haven't seen the others. I'll have to check it out.
Yes. So yeah, I caught up on that. And then also I caught up on all the episodes of Stranger Things season 4. And it just shows like my backlog of TV, because I could only just get Stranger Things like in the last few days. Wow. But I'm glad I did, because now I've got 2 episodes ahead of me. And episode 1, of the 2 episodes debuting today, one's like 1:25, and then the other one's 2.5 hours, Simon.
What do you think is the what do you think is the reasoning behind that? Because that's very much at odds with what has been the Netflix and the streaming principle at late of having short, sharp episodes that people can come back to and binge and go in and out of. Why do you think they're releasing a 2.5 hour final episode of Stranger Things?
Because the Duffer Brothers wanted to, and I've got the biggest show in the world, so why not?
Really? So it all came down to creative control, do you think?
Not pretty much.
Wow, okay.
I don't think there's any great strategy behind this. I think if it was just like 2 50-minute episodes, Netflix would be just as content to make as, a similar size deal about it as they have.
Okay. Well, I mean, it certainly positions it as good old-fashioned event television, so that's not a bad thing at all. And
yes, but the reality is I can't stay up that late. So here's what's going to happen, Simon. I'm going to start watching it. I'm going to fall asleep. I'm going to wake up like half an hour, 40 minutes into it going, oh, well, I have to go back to where I was up to. Groggily, I'll be like, I think that's roughly where I was up to. I'll press play, and then within 30 seconds, I will be asleep again. And then the same problem will repeat. I'll wake up and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I think I've watched an hour of TV, and I haven't. That's how this works, Simon.
Yeah, they don't when they create these 2.5 hour shows, they really don't consider us people who fall asleep at 10 o'clock at night and have to do those things. But I've gotten very good at getting right to the point where I fell asleep, though. I know exactly how far I have to go back and what part of the film I'm at. So it's a skill, Dan. It'll come to you. It's a skill. It's a learned response, a trace memory.
No, here's the thing. So I refuse to acknowledge to myself that I fell asleep at any point. And I'll be like, I didn't fall asleep, and there's no one in the room with me. I would just argue to myself that did not happen. And, there we go.
You're just going to slide right into senility, aren't you? When no one's even going to notice, just you and senility just joining the same path. It'll be wonderful, wonderful to watch.
Thus ends the What Else Have You Been Watching segment. And thus begins the next segment we call the middle bit.
I'm quite excited about this one. You came up with this just a matter of moments before the show, and I thought that is why he is a hell of a podcast producer.
This is the most pure middle bit of all time.
That is exactly right. It defines what middle bit is about. Do explain, Daniel.
Okay, so it's the middle bit, and then also we're in the middle of the year, and I thought, considering middle, let's talk about the year that's been so far. So it's not a grand enough opportunity to talk about our top 10. That's ridiculous. But maybe talk about our top 5. So Simon Foster, kick us off. Let's talk movies first.
Yeah.
What have you been your top 5 movies so far in 2022?
Okay. Now I'm not going to say with any particular order. I didn't have time to put them in any particular order. But
I'll put them in an order. There's 5 titles. Come on.
We're going to get text. All right. Okay, fine. I'll put them in an order. At number 5. I'm at number 5. My 5th favorite movie of the year so far is Lunana, a yak in the classroom. This is the beautiful story from Bhutan about a man who heads to the classroom high in the mountains to teach a group of kids and maybe a bit of a life lesson himself. It's a beautiful, gorgeous, stunning to look at film, which absolutely warmed my heart. I think it's still in a few cinemas. I reviewed it about a month ago. It was the Bhutanese Oscar-nominated foreign language film. That's number 5.
I'm really getting tired of the cinema of Bhutan, to be frank.
Yeah, boy, calm down, Bhutan. Who the hell do you think you are? Number 4 for me was
just one big blockbuster after the next.
Number 4 for me was a Norwegian horror film called Hatching. Oh, maybe it's Finnish. Oh, I better get that right. We're going to be getting Scandi emails. This is the story of a young girl going through puberty and the shape-shifting monster that she raises in her bedroom, much to the chagrin of her everything has to be perfect mother. It was a great horror film and a great bit of sort of metaphoric monster storytelling as well. So it's called Hatching. I think it's turning up on Shudder very soon. Had a brief cinema run not so long ago. Number 3 for me was a little film that came and went very quickly, a little art house film called Top Gun Maverick. It's still the most purely cinematic film I've seen in a long, long time. The rush and the thrill I got from watching Top Gun Maverick has stayed with me, and I am going to go back and see it again, which I don't often do anymore just because of the amount of stuff I have to watch. I'll be going back to see Top Gun Maverick. Number 3. Number 2. Oh, this is going to split me. All right, I'm going to say number 2, Everything Everywhere All at Once, the multiverse comedy action thriller starring Michelle Yeoh, which has had some of the best reviews of any film in a long, long time. That's my number 2. And my number 1 film, I'm on a bit of a Jenny Ortega kick at the moment, so I'm going to say The Fallout, which was the film she did with Maddie Ziegler about the survivors of the school shooting. That was, I thought, just a powerful, moving film, and hits my number 1 spot for the best film of the last 6 months. I'd also put X in there, which is the other Jenny Ortega film, the other horror film that she made, which I was a big fan of as well. So big Jenny Ortega fan. Fallout at number 1. There you go. That was a quick 5, a good bunch of films.
Yeah, a quick 5 is always a good 5. I was literally standing outside the cinema ready to go and see X, and then I got a phone call and I never got to finish the film. Well, I never got to see the film.
Was it the phone call? Was it come quickly, Bub's on the way?
No, because this films of this year, Simon. My child is like almost a year old, so therefore the math does not work out.
Yeah, I know. I said that comment without thinking. I do that quite a bit lately.
No, it was probably the more important phone call, which was, hey, it's not, sorry, it's like, hey, it's me. And then I hear a message on the other end saying, Ben and Jerry's, it's in the freezer. And I'm like, oh, I've got to go. And then made my way out the road.
That is an important call. All right, 5 films. Let's hear them.
5 films. Number 5, and this speaks to, I think, the paltry year that's been so far. Number 5, Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
Well, it's pretty good, but it shouldn't be in a top 5.
Wow, you have brought the negative. That is a very downbeat way to look at the year's biggest hit.
Yeah, fine, but whatever.
Okay.
Also, it's not the year's biggest hit. I believe that it's still slightly behind Doctor Strange, is it not?
No, it's past Doctor Strange. It's still slightly behind. Oh, what was the headline I saw last week? That it's only behind Spider-Man in terms of the big bucks from the last couple of years. No, it's well and truly overtaken Strange.
I don't think it's well and truly. I think it's only just been in the last couple of days that may have just passed it.
Yep.
It hasn't made as much money as you think it would, considering all the buzz around it.
Really? I think you're wrong. I think it's made.
No, there's a narrative. There's a narrative thing. So I think it's like closing in on $1 billion, or it's got the chance to do that.
Yeah.
But I think you're just underestimating how much money that Doctor Strange movie made. Anyway, we'll look that up in a moment.
We'll have to do the maths on that. Yes.
Okay, number 4, lesbian nun movie, Bernadetta.
Oh, that is a good one. Okay. Yeah, look, that's a great film. Yeah, no, well done. You did good there. I actually saw that last year, so that was in my list. That would have been in my list last year. But you're right, that's a great film.
Sorry, Simon, I'm a man of the people. I see movies when they're in a cinema.
Do you? Is that what you do? Is it really?
That's right. As a man of the people. So as a man of the people, I sat in a cinema alone with my mate watching Bernadetta, and we had a grand time.
I know the sort of people who sat and watched Bernadetta. You're exactly one of them.
What? Okay, number 3. The Steven Soderbergh film Kimmy, which I had a huge amount of fun with. It was short, 90 minutes, maybe slightly less than. Good little tight film. Number 2, a movie that I've seen almost as many times as I claim to have, a movie called The Batman.
Wow. Number 2, that is the only surprise. I thought that was a lock for number 1 for you. Wow. See, now I'm, hang on. Maybe because of your background that gives away what your number 1 is. All right, let's hear your number 1.
Number 1, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was, quite frankly, a goddamn crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, considering the cost of making that movie versus the box office it's received, is that actually a more successful movie than some of these Top Gun Mavericks and whatnot? I'm kind of curious to know what that ratio is.
Well, I'm kind of curious to know exactly where it ended up box office wise, because I know it's done very well, in most places. I don't think it's done huge business. It certainly hasn't done blockbuster business. It was only an A24 release in the US. That's one of the smaller companies.
But I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about in terms of what it actually costs to make versus what it's pulled in. Like, what's the percentage? Yeah.
Worth looking at.
Performed exceedingly well. I believe it's A24's highest box office grosser so far.
Most successful, yeah. I think it probably is. I'll have to do some sums. I used to be such a student of the box office. When I was working at Variety, I would just go to the box office charts and I could rattle off, exactly what a film made. And I still can for a lot of the stuff from the 80s and 90s, but I just haven't. I don't do the other as much anymore, which I really should do. Maybe we should do a box office segment. Gee, that'd be good podcasting, wouldn't it? Just rattling off a whole bunch of numbers every week.
These about numbers that you could just look up.
Yeah, that it's on the internet. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Mad.
Okay.
Progress on to what people actually really care about, which is TV series.
Oh, is that what it is it? Okay. You want to get started with this? This is your bag, baby.
No, we'll go you first because you did movies first. So,
am I gonna, do I have to do this in order as well? As this is a thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
How we do lists.
At number 5, I couldn't split it, so I'm going to call it the Penis Twins. Pam and Tommy and Minx, 2 shows where the male member was front and center, and which both were exciting and thrilling bits of storytelling and used the male member to particularly, I was going to say pleasing effect, not pleasing effect, but distinctive dramatic effect. 2 terrific bits of television. Pam and Tommy ran out a little bit towards the end. Minx didn't. Minx held the held you raptured with a great lead performance and a terrific bit of storytelling all the way through. So there you go. My 5 is number 2, the Penis Twins, Pam and Tommy and Minx. Number 4 for me, episode.
You sound so tickled by the male member.
Yes, I am. Well, there has been a resurgence, or not even a resurgence, just a coming out of the male member on television. We've commented on the value of the peen numerous times on this podcast, and how they're it's been sort of the breakout star of the last 12 months of television. Don't you think?
Sorry, I'm just holding back every joke I want to make right now.
I bet you are. All right, I'll move on. Episode, and I was quite sort of detailed in the way that I broke down my 5 favorite bits of television. I've done them on an episode basis. The Peacemaker, loved it all the way through. Episode 7, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, in which Harcourt, Myrn and Adebayo find themselves surrounded by an alien force while Peacemaker squares off against his father with help from Vigilante and Economos. Loved all of the Peacemaker. Episode 7, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, was arguably my favorite of all of them, and sort of brought all the excitement and all the heart and character of that series together in that episode. So bravo, Peacemaker. My 3rd favorite is episode 7, Year of the Rat, of the TV series Gaslit. Now, I know you poo-pooed Gaslit, or said it didn't poo-poo. No, it didn't poo-poo it, but it was okay. And I can't recall a series whose mood has changed and whose and sort of the dynamic of the episode on an episode by episode basis changed so much. Those first couple of episodes of Gaslit were quite jaunty and sort of bouncy, and I think I even referred to them as a bit Adam McKay style when We looked at them early on. The last couple of episodes, especially Year of the Rat, episode 7, where Shea Wiggum's Gordon Liddy character goes right off the rails, and Martha and John, Julia Roberts and Sean Penn, have this brutal bit of domestic violence. It is just one of the most dark and challenging bits of television I have seen in a long time, and it led right into a final episode, which was absolutely heartbreaking. So Gaslit really rocked my world a little bit, those the way it sort of changed in the path that it went down. So yeah, episode 7, Year of the Rat, of a really terrific series. You ready for the next one?
Yeah, I'm baited. That's
Okay.
the breath. Go for it.
Number 3 for me is The Dropout, perhaps overall my favorite series of the year, but episode 5, Flower of Life. This is where she cons the Walgreen Committee. This is where she starts to go really deep into the con and her own belief in her lies. It's where she starts to butt heads with her lover, played by Naveen Andrews. And this was the episode that really showcased how great Amanda Seyfried was as Elizabeth Holmes in the story of the Theranos downfall. Great bit of television. She was amazing in this. Did you underneath my...
Yeah, I did. I think the Dropout and the enthusiasm people have for her is mind-boggling to me.
Oh, really?
This series. No, well, I don't understand the value of... It's the exact same problem that all the other bio series had, which is that they're not really biographies of the people involved. They've taken loose ideas of the characters and turned them into its own fiction. And I just don't understand the value in any of that. Like, why not just tell a fictionalized story? Instead, they're kind of purporting to be telling stories of truth, or at least getting to a truth, and they don't really exist.
But when that's done well, you look at something like I, Tonya, or even something like Pam and Tommy, which is, as you say, a very stylized look at...
Pam and Tommy, the series, though, collapsed completely about 2/3 in.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with that. I thought it lost its way for sure. But we'll take I, Tonya as an example. It takes a piece of modern history where everyone involved became sort of a running joke and used that kind of style and storytelling to engage people's minds about what these people were really like. And I thought it told an incredible truth. So
but we don't actually know what these people are really like. Like, you
do
can
we
hear...
ever? But do we ever, when we watch a biopic? It's all about artistic interpretation when a filmmaker makes a true story.
But like, what's the artistic interpretation? You're making up a character. Like Liz Merriweather has said, she had no access at all to Ms. Holmes. Like, she doesn't actually know what Elizabeth Holmes was like. She's really just making it all up.
She wouldn't have been making it all up. She would have had that all the coverage of what Elizabeth Holmes did with Theranos would have been the basis for what went on behind the scenes. It was a well-documented corporate...
You don't know what a person's actually like. You've just got documentation as to what was going on.
Right.
Like, so essentially, send me a Wikipedia article and say, oh, here you go. Now, tell me what this person's like. It's not the same as actually having exposure to the person and being able to craft something.
But by
and I think... But so here's the... Wait. I've not had the same problem with movies in the past. And this is where I think the difference is. I think the difference is with a movie, it's like a 2-hour hit, but then a TV series is asking to come back week after week to experience more of this person. And I just found week after week, it became more of a corrupting experience watching it, because it just seems to get further and further away from the actual reality of what it was. And it's like, well, why am I being asked to come back and spend so much time in this world of characters that have just been made up a whole cloth fictionally, effectively?
First of all, you're assuming you know what the reality of the situation was. Second of all,
I'm basing this off interviews with Liz Merriweather, the creator.
Second of all, you're tearing down what the absolute core reason is behind any biopic that's ever made on film or television, and that's to give an interpretation of someone's life. No one's purporting that everything is in all of these is truth. They're saying that this is how we're going to examine the life, whether it's Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash or whether it's Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury. These are all interpretations. They're not trying to tell real life stories. They're trying to give an account of balancing the artistic output of these people and what their legend has come to represent. And in the case of Elizabeth Holmes, I think that was captured in terms of the Dropout, it was a fairly by the numbers sort of breakdown of what went on behind the scenes, but there was also a melting down of the character that gave some insight into what Elizabeth Holmes was.
How can we really have an insight into who she was if we, like, the actual writer herself has said that she made most of it up whole cloth?
Well, having done her research, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's all entirely fictional.
I mean, it's not entirely fictional, but like, it's just so fictional to be negate any sort of real value in it. I don't know. I did not care for that series. I have not cared for any of these biopic TV dramas so far. Like, each of them just seems to, I mean, The Dropout's probably the best of them, but even then that speaks more to the performances than it does to, I think, the actual integrity of the production.
Sure. Yep. Can't argue with that for sure. All right. So my number one for the year, for the half year, I should say. And I think it's one of the great episodes of television is Stranger Things, this year's season 4, episode 4, Dear Billy. Max is in grave danger. She's got 24 hours before the Vecna, or whatever the monster is, catches up with her. It features an incredible guest performance by Robert Englund, and also Hopper breaking out of his Russian prison, which is probably the weakest of the stories. But the ending that became an internet sensation with the Kate Bush song Running Up That Hill brings together so many elements and so many bits of character for those who were invested in this series, that it was really emotional and really exciting, and was just a terrific bit of television. So episode 4, Dear Billy of Stranger Things, rounds out my top 5.
Okay, my top 5, I've got one title which is going to overlap with yours, but then the rest is all fresh.
Wow, cool, good.
Here we go. So number 5, Minx. And the episode that really sort of knocked me out of the water was actually just the first episode. The series came out of the gates incredibly confident. It reminded me a lot of Cheers, which is always a very positive thing. There's something that's so familiar, I guess, about the relationship these two characters have. It's not a romance in the way that Cheers was, but pretty much they follow very similar archetypes. And quite frankly, you can do far worse than emulating one of my favorite shows of all time. So here we go, number 5. Yeah, I mean, generally, I can't say the show is necessarily sort of breaking new ground at all. It's really treading the same ground that's been trod quite a fair bit recently, with a whole bunch of other productions that try to take a very sort of feminist take on a subject matter that I think we're all just a little bit familiar with to a certain degree. In this case, it's like 1970s Los Angeles Valley era pornography production. But, you know, it kind of comes with some fairly fresh characters, and, you know, it's a bunch of fun. Number 4 is a series which should probably be higher on my list. I just haven't seen the entire run of it yet, so I'm not quite sure exactly where it sits just yet. By the end of the year, it might be my favorite. Not 100% sure yet, but Irma Vep, which I had a grand time with. Yes, Simon, have you watched it yet?
No, I haven't got around to it. Just with film festival deadline hitting this week, there's a few things that I've had left behind, and that's one of them. Huge Alicia Vikander fan. I cannot wait to see the series. I get the feeling that it would have made my top 5. What? You there? Hello. Oh, we got a freeze on.
Hi, Simon. I've heard almost nothing you've said for the last 10 minutes because the connection's not been great.
It's dropped out. I said I'm a huge Alicia Vikander fan, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just incredible in it. A show which I didn't expect to really be my favorite while I was watching the early episodes, but by the end of the season, boy, did it have me in its hooks. A show called 1883. This is the Yellowstone prequel series, and it's like it went to a place at the end of the season which I've not really seen a show go there in a way that this did. It was really compelling, just smart, savvy, very watchable TV.
That's good. That's quality. Yeah, I've heard great things about that.
Yeah. Number 2, a show which I think blended 2 of my favorite genres together, which is filthy thick of it style comedy with John le Carre style spy action. Slow Horses,
nice,
which is an Apple TV+ show, and boy, did that tickle me.
With Mr. Oldman, can do no wrong, really, even in chintzy stuff. And I've seen a couple of his bad films. He's always watchable.
Yeah, and I mean, here he's very much doing a take on the Smiley character that he's played in le Carre before. So, Yeah, canny casting.
And,
Number one.
Oh, sorry. And coming back for a second season, did I read somewhere? I've heard that.
Yeah, not just coming back for a second season, but also a third and fourth season.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's huge. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's because seasons 1 and 2 were shot back to back, and then they commissioned it for a third, and therefore a fourth season also being shot back to back.
Excellent work. All right, here's with your number one, baby.
Number one, this is a show that I just can't not have as number one on my list. It's a show called Evil. This is a show that I just love dearly. Every week I watch this. It's incredibly funny. It's genuinely scary week to week. Some of the creepiest moments I've ever seen on TV emanate in this program. It's incredibly smart. This show is just the entire package, and it hasn't failed at all this year. It's still ticking all the boxes.
Okay, going into this, I said to myself, is he going to go with Evil as number one, or is he going to back his review from earlier in the year and go with Pachinko as number one? Because I thought you were so effusive about Pachinko. I thought that might have been in there, but still one that I've got on my list to watch. So.
Yeah, look, Pachinko is definitely hovering near my top 5. And as I reassess towards the end of the year, it might well make its way a bit higher up on the list. But as I jotted out the list on the train ride running to do this recording session, this is pretty much where my list's at.
Good job. Good job. That was the middle bit.
A review section begat a this is what we've watched section, which begat a middle bit, which begat the final segment of the program, which I've forgotten the name of. What do we call this thing?
Well, it's sort of a week ahead, and then a bit of a week in history, and then a bunch of happy birthdays. It's kind of, let's call it the coda. It's the epilogue. The epilogue, like those great old. It's a Quinn Martin production, and here's the epilogue.
I don't know. This is more third act than epilogue.
Oh, you think? All right, okay.
Yeah, most definitely. Otherwise, wouldn't by that logic mean that the middle bit is actually the end bit?
Yes. Maybe the sign off is the epilogue. Maybe we do the Quinn Martin sign off bit with the final. Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. This is probably the third act. It's a week third act, so I've seen what's ahead of us.
Okay. Now I'm looking at a list here of new and returning TV series.
Yes.
And I can't help but feel that maybe I should have filled something out. So while I look into that, do you want to take a look at the movies that are debuting on streaming this week?
Sure. One of them is a pretty cool looking animated film called The Sea Beast. It's coming to Netflix on the 8th of July. The plot line reads as thus. When a young girl stows away on a ship of a legendary sea monster hunter, they launch an epic journey into uncharted waters and make history to boot. Good voice cast, Carl Urban, Jared Harris, Dan Stevens. It's made by the team that made Moana, so they know how to shoot the ocean. It's called The Sea Beast, Netflix from the 8th of July. And then Australia's own Ruby Rose stars in an Amazon Prime movie called One Up. This is the story of a gamer who quits her college esports team due to sexism from her male counterparts and how the school rallies behind her to put things right. It hits Amazon Prime also on the 8th of July. It's called One Up. Did I stretch
now?
it?
Perfect stretching. A movie that probably should have been in my top 5 for the year, and it may still when I reassess it towards the end of the year, but a little film called Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe.
Okay, which I still haven't seen, but okay, that's a big wrap. Good for you.
I mean, it's pretty fun. Anyway, in terms of upcoming TV series for the week, can I draw your attention to Mystery Road Origin, which is an origin story of Mystery Road?
The Ivan Sen cop thing with Aaron Pedersen? That's
right.
Wow, cool. Okay.
If you're going to watch one Ivan Sen related project this year, make it this one.
Yes. Yeah, that's a little inside joke between Dan and I, and you're absolutely right.
What else have we got here? Very little other shows, at least on the list here, that I'm looking at that are worth noting. But there are some season finales coming up for the Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which has been very entertaining this season. And also The Man Who Fell to Earth, and both of those on Paramount Plus.
Interesting stuff. All right, I'll get to it. This week in history, Daniel, A lot of big pop culture names amongst the This Week in History entrants. On July 3rd, 1985, a little film called Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox was released and became a blockbuster, game-changing hit, and made a star, or in Brighton, the star of Michael J. Fox, who was coming off the Family Tie series. So the Back to the Future script is, and I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, constantly being referred to as one of the great bits of script structure, and is taught as sort of like the classic bit of American script writing at several colleges in the US. So bravo, Back to the Future.
Yeah. What else we got here? July 4, 1989. Tim Burton's Batman set records of the quickest 100 million. Sorry. Set a record of the quickest film to get to 100 million. Sorry, I just started reading exactly what you wrote verbatim and realized I need words in there.
Well, I didn't actually write it. I cut and pasted that, and I've only just read it too. It's really terrible English. I don't know who did that, but yes, but it did set a record of the quickest 100 million. It took 10 days to get there. That's pretty impressive.
Now, in the spirit of the movie Bad Neighbors, or Bad Neighbors, what we know it as, but in America they just called it Neighbors.
Yeah.
Do you want to give me your favorite Batman impersonation?
Oh. Wow, what era do you? I'm Batman. That's when he's.
I'm Batman.
Which Batman was that?
Well, that's the Christian Bale.
Oh, that's the Christian Bale. Oh, I see. I did the Michael Keaton when he's holding that gun. What are you? I'm Batman.
Yeah, well, that's the joke in Neighbors, in that they're doing the Batman that reflects their generation.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. That's a funny film, though. Speaking of funny, July 5th, 1989, a show called The Seinfeld Chronicles debuts on NBC. The name was then changed to Seinfeld. A bit of tinkering was done, and it became a iconic sitcom thing. Seinfeld launched July 5, 1989.
Simon, I will give you 2,000 Dan bucks if you're able to name the female lead of the Seinfeld Chronicles.
It wasn't Elaine. She didn't turn up till you mean the actress or the character? The main, I think the main female lead was the waitress. I can't remember what her name was. She had some cracking lines. No, I can't remember the.
Yeah, she was a guest star though.
Yeah, she was the guest star. No, I honestly can't remember the female. Was there a female lead?
Yes.
No,
so she was supposed to be one of the cast members, and then didn't quite make her way to the second episode.
Wow. No, I don't remember. Who was it?
Yeah. Sorry, I just got a little distracted. I was trying to make sure that I heard her surname right, and I did. Her name is Lee Garlington.
Oh, okay. Yes. No, I didn't.
According to IMDb, and this is the thing that surprised me a bit, they are not listing the title of the first episode as the Seinfeld Chronicles, despite the fact that is the title that comes up on the screen.
Wow. That's challenging. Now, if I remember, Kramer was in the first episode.
Sorry, you were breaking up. What did you say?
Was Kramer in the first episode? He was in the first episode. Hey, no.
So Michael Richards was in the episode, but he played a character called Tesla.
Ah, that's right. God, you're good with your Seinfeld. That's amazing. Okay, that's interesting. And no Elaine until later on, which was, of course, one of the great decisions they made because she became such a star from that. So, love my Seinfeld. Love it, love it, love it. One of my ideas for a middle bit, and I was going to suggest it today, but we might be able to do it later. What is the best season of the best TV shows? When do you think shows like Seinfeld and Simpsons and ER and the great shows that we know, when do you think they hit their stride? So maybe we can do that in the future.
Okay, I've got some very strong opinions on this subject matter.
I bet you do. All right, we'll come back to that one. Double back to that. July 9, 1956.
Can I give you my middle bit suggestion based on Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Okay, the two of us come to the podcast with our favorite recipes for babka.
Another babka? Sure. Yep. Let's do that. Chocolate or cinnamon?
I'm going to come with a key lime pie babka.
From Schnitzer's. July 9, 1956, Dick Clark, the late great Dick Clark, made his first appearance as co-host of American Bandstand, and a legend was born Rest in peace, Dick Clark.
Okay, 1927, July 3rd, Ken Russell was born. He's the director of such great films as Tommy and Altered States.
Yeah, he's a nut job, Ken Russell. A young actor called Tom Cruise was born July 3rd, 1962. He's gone on to be quite the star himself, Mr. Cruise. Happy birthday.
Sorry, just on Tom-related news, I did bring up the box office for the various movies, the motion pictures.
Yep.
Top Gun Maverick did crop past $1 billion in the last week. So that's currently sitting at $1 billion and 20 million and a few pennies after that.
Yep.
It has passed Doctor Strange, which was the #2 film for the year, and that's at 950 million.
Ooh, wow, that's close. Do you have the Everything Everywhere Always at Once?
I'll guess that in just a moment, but just an interesting little trivia side note.
Yeah.
The Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness actually made more money overseas than Top Gun Maverick has.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And the thing with box office as well is that there's all sorts of caveats in regards to how one thing performs better than others and whatnot. So
Sure.
I don't know what the international releases have been for Top Gun Maverick and Doctor Strange. It's entirely possible that Doctor Strange may have been in more markets than Top Gun. Top Gun has obviously had the benefit of being in a marketplace where there's been no real major releases. There was Jurassic World Dominion, but that was more one of these things that opened and had like 2 weekends of, decent box office and then sort of died off. Whereas Top Gun's really had like, multiple weekends at this point to have the weekend to itself. And Doctor Strange had the misfortune of coming out just a couple of weeks before Top Gun Maverick. So that's pipped it.
A couple of weeks before Top Gun Maverick
I don't have the time duration here.
came out. Oh, didn't it come out earlier this year? It came out ages ago.
Did it come out that early? Like Top Gun's been out for a while at this point.
Top Gun's been out for about 6 weeks. Doctor Strange was out like at the start of the year.
It's released for that.
Anywho.
May 6th.
May 6th for Top Gun or for Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange.
Really? I would hazard a guess it was way before that.
That's what Box Office Mojo says.
Like in Australia or around the world?
Like around the world. Give or take like a few dates here and there, but like around that week.
Okay.
And then Top Gun came out like just 3 weeks later.
Isn't Doctor Strange on
Disney Plus.
It's already gone to Disney Plus, which is where I'll have to watch it. So all right, birthday time. Julie Cruise. Tom Cruise, we've done here, July 3rd, 1962. The beautiful Janet Leigh, July 6th, 1927. She who's most famous for the scene in the shower in Psycho, one of the classic bits of cinema. And July 7, 1968, and I hope I get the pronunciation of this name right, Georgia Fox from ER and
That's
West
right.
Wing.
Fox by name, Fox by nature.
Yeah, exactly. And I always get her confused, and still to this day, I get her confused with Krista Miller, who was the female cast member of the Drew Carey Show. You could literally put them next to each other, and I get them completely confused. It's a sickness. I don't know what's going on in my head.
You know that one of them is actually a really talented actor, and the other one starred on the Drew Carey Show, right?
I like Krista Miller. She was very funny in that, but don't you think they look the same? Like I can't tell them apart. And
look, I won't disagree that both of them have brown hair.
That's what does it. Brown hair is the clincher for me. It just throws it right off.
Sure. Hey, Simon.
Yes.
Let's get out of here. I've got some Stranger Things to watch. Folks, thank you very much for listening to Screen Watching. Like, really, the fact you managed to make it this far is incredible. My name is Dan Barrett. You can find me on Twitter at the Dan Barrett. You can start your day with my free newsletter. It's called Always Be Watching. Find that one at http://alwaysbewatching.com. It's got the big stories in TV, streaming, and film. And on Fridays, it's got the Always Be Streaming newsletter, which recounts the big shows that launched that very week. And Simon, just a little bit of a tip to those that do subscribe to the newsletter.
Yeah.
If you like getting the news section and you're not really that fussed about the Always Be Streaming part of it, you can now log into your account and you can select which ones you want.
See, this is technology. You have a handle on technology that helps people enjoy your newsletter even more. This is why everyone should be signing up for it. Well done, Dan Barrett.
So true.
I'm on the Twitter at Simon R. Foster1. You can read my words over at screen-space.net. Do visit the Screen Watching Facebook page. I'm trying to put more and more stuff up there as we speak. The YouTube channel is going to get an influx of some interviews this week. I've got a couple lined up. Can't remember who with, but they're going to be there. Do watch out for developments at my Sydney Science Fiction Film Festival. We're a few short weeks away from naming the program and all the films that'll be part of it, and I'll be making a big hoo-ha about that in the weeks going forward. Thank you for your ongoing support, everyone.
Simon Foster, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back next week talking more screen watching, and in that time I'll see if I can find the dollar figure as to what the percentage is with the Everything Everywhere All at Once versus...
I'll let me do the work on that. I think I can bring you seem completely jacked up about Doctor Strange. What's it called? Doctor Strange in the Pyramid of Personality, or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, let's see how it goes.
Sure. Simon, we'll see you next week.